This extends to the US, of course, where memorials to the Confederacy, a group of states which fought to keep slavery, have always been a source of tension. And they're once again a flashpoint, especially in the city of Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the Confederacy. Last week, protesters there set fire to the Daughters of the Confederacy building. They're dedicated to stopping the removal of statues of Confederate leaders. On Saturday, a small group pulled down the statue of Confederate General William Wickham. His own descendants had called for its removal years earlier. And on Thursday, Virginia's governor announced plans to remove the statue of the Confederate General Robert E. Lee. You might remember in 2017, opposition to the proposed removal of another one of his statues led to a white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, which of course ended in these extraordinary scenes of violence. There's a lot to unpack there. We're going to do it with Maurice Jackson, an Associate Professor of African American Studies at Georgetown University. Nice to have you with us, sir. Is it as simple as saying these statues need to come down, while other people would say they need to be there to remind people of the past? I mean, is there an answer here?
Well, thank you very much for having me. If I could say from the beginning, as I was listening, you had a program on Shakespeare. I should let you know that Shakespeare owned stock in the Royal African Company, the same company that the gentleman whose statue was taken down. So, no, it's not very easy to symbolize this. Should the statues come down? Yes. Do we need more remembrances of this? Black people need no remembrances of these things. They are everywhere we go. Let me give you an example. The White House was built with slaves. Lafayette Square, where all those demonstrations have been in Washington, was a slave trading port. Everywhere you go, the Capitol was built with slaves. In the United States, there's 700 memorials in 31 states dedicated to Confederate soldiers. No, they should all come down. They should be put into the dump heap of history.
What do you think of the reaction, for example, in the UK of the Home Secretary there, who talked about the vandalism of it being utterly disgraceful? Is that just, not reading the room?
Well, sometimes British historians stand up and do the right thing. Sometimes they don't. If you remember, it was William Wilberforce, who many years ago was the first parliamentary leader who came out and supported 1793 in the abolition of slavery. There were people like Thomas Clarkson. There were people like Granville Sharp. There have been people who stood up and fought. And then there have been some who supported the slave trade and supported oppression. So let her make her statements. She sounds like Donald Trump.
As ever, Maurice, I think it becomes about education. If I were to come to the United States, if I were go to, and I used the example of Richmond, Virginia there, I could see statues. But are there museums, are there places where people can actually learn about this and learn from the mistakes of the past?
Of course. There's the Museum of African American History, and started right in Washington, D.C. And if you go inside, you can see demonstrations. They will show you films of the Klan and what they've done. Almost any African-American museum may have a robe of a Klansman where you can go and see. You can go in those museums and you can see the pictures and the backs of African-American men who've been beaten and whipped. No, we don't try to hide things, but we don't glorify them, and they must be told in context. But in Washington, D.C., and every museums throughout the country, African-American, other museums. And
are they well patronized?
Don't believe
Are they well patronized, though? Are people going there? They don't shy away from it?
Well, the Museum of African American History has more people visiting than any place in a museum in the country of the Smithsonian museums. Yes, of course. You go, you can see them, and they're Klan's robe, but they must be told in context. Inside the Museum of African American History, there's also the casket of Emmett Till, and that's who Confederates, modern-day Confederates, went in, this 14-year-old boy, and threw him in the river. So, yes, there are remembrances everywhere. Now, should one go to Richmond, Virginia, as you go down this grand boulevard, and the first thing you see is a cavalryman? No. And they should have been taken down long time ago, and now almost every state. Now, understand, the governors of these states are white men. The governor of Virginia is a white man. He knows that this is disruptive, that this is not what Virginia should be about. And therefore, they're calling it, putting them to taking these down. Should they be thrown in the water? Well, maybe they should be, used to smelt and and form a peace ribbon or something. I don't know. The British people will decide that.
Nice idea, though. Thank you for that. Always good to talk to you, Maurice Jackson from Georgetown University.
It's my pleasure.